Hey kid, great timing. As you can see, I'm in a bit of a pickle. My bag is right over there. There's 3 Pokemon in it. Just pick one. Don't think about it too hard. They're all pretty good. Although let's be real, they're not all equally good. Treecko is incredibly overrated, as are all grass starters. Mudkip is pretty good, but it's a bit slow. And Torchic is my favorite, so maybe don't pick that one. You'll also find a picture of my great-great-grandmother. In black and white, though. Did you know that color wasn't actually invented until Pokemon Red and Blue? Welcome to the Hoenn region. Some might say we have too much water. Some maniacs might say we need even more. But either way, water is only one of your 3 options. This is Gen 3 Starters, where we'll be analyzing the Hoenn starters for their in-game performance. This means I won't be considering competitive history at all. I only care about which starter smashes the encounters from your house to the Hall of Fame, and eventually, the ultimate showdown with this crazy cave hermit? Quick criteria. What makes a good in-game Pokemon? Number 1, high offensive stats and speed. The best Pokemon go first and knock out the opponent before they can act. Repeat until you're the champion. Being slow doesn't make a Pokemon unusable, but yeah, more on that later. Number 2, good move pools. You can have incredible attacking stats, but it's meaningless unless you actually have high base power moves that can convert those stats into damage. Coverage options are nice, but don't fall for the super effective Swindle. Super effective text doesn't kill the opponent, it's just a damage modifier. Your most important moves will almost always be those that gain the 50% boost from stab, or same type attack bonus. Which brings us to number 3, dual typing. Double the typing means double the stab options, alongside a wider move pool that can pull from attacks that both types are proficient in. For example, water types often also get ice moves, and ground types can usually also use rock moves. Offensively, dual typing is a strict advantage, and it can theoretically be a disadvantage for defense. After all, only dual types can take quadruple damage, but dual typing often ends up being a defensive advantage too, since immunities negate weaknesses and defenses don't matter when the best Pokemon never get hit anyway. I've plundered the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon archives to create these nifty graphics that show how the starters match up against the enemy team, as well as what evolution stage you can expect to be at that point in the game. If Tsuchinokoin's stonks are rising, then you have an advantage. A plain Dunsparce means the fight could go either way, and if Tsuchinokoin is crashing harder than Ubisoft stocks, then this might not be a fight you want to pick. Typing plays a large part in my evaluation, but I use a holistic review process. What matters is how much damage you actually deal and receive, not the type chart praising or scolding you for the matchup. I'll then be awarding each starter a score from 1 to 10, with scores above 5 meaning the starter makes your journey easier, and scores below 5 meaning the starter makes the game harder and maybe your EXP would be better invested elsewhere. As a stunning and brave Smoliv branch to any filthy casuals that may have stumbled into this video, I'll actually be giving each Pokemon 2 ratings. The first will be the Youngster rating, for players on their first run of the game who aren't metagaming and are just trying to enjoy the journey. Pathetic. The game is rated E for everyone, and that includes little kids who don't know what stats mean, can't read, and just use whatever attacks look the coolest. Game Freak seems to think those sniffling brats deserve to see the credits, and the starters are the only Pokemon every player has guaranteed access to. So in that sense, the Youngster rating is probably what Game Freak intended. However, for true capital G gamers, there will also be an Ace Trainer rating for those who know how to milk every last bit of performance out of the starters with advanced tactics and planning. I'm not assuming a solo run. The starter can tag out if they have to, but I am basing my evaluation on your starter being the main character, doing most of the fighting and gobbling up most of the XP and TMs. Basically, I'm only considering the starters at their over-leveled best, and not their under-leveled worst. What's new in Gen 3? The big flagship edition is abilities. I actually have an entire tier list going through each of the Gen 3 abilities in depth. But the TikTok brain rot 15-second summary is that they do so little you forget they exist, until you get paralyzed by static. However, there are some abilities that will affect every starter review going forward. First are the abilities that benefit us, those being the Overgrow, Blaze, and Torrent abilities shared by every grass, fire, and water starter respectively. All of these have the exact same effect of ups elemental move in a pinch.
What the hell does that mean?
How much is ups? 20%? 30%? Oh, it's 50%. Okay, so what does in a pinch mean? Is it when statused? No, that's when suffering, apparently. Is it 25% health? That's when the pinch berries activate, right? No, you have to pinch a little harder to eat the berries because the ability threshold is actually higher at 33%. Is it really Youngster's fault if he doesn't realize how to use this ability? A 50% boost to your best moves below 1/3 health is incredible, but although every starter has a version of this ability, not every starter can take advantage of it. Because you need to camp at low health, slow, defensive starters are at constant risk of getting outsped and knocked out before cashing in the reward. These abilities also only amplify your primary type of grass, fire, or water, and you probably already know where I'm going with this. Water and especially fire attacks start shredding everything, while grass finally deals normal damage despite resistance. Grass is ass. The other ability we need to talk about is an enemy ability, arguably the best in the entire franchise even 2 decades later. It's Intimidate. If you're a physical Pokemon, you always face the threat of being neutered by random Intimidate Pokemon that can ruin what would otherwise be a clean sweep. For the rest of the series, physical starters will be at a disadvantage in these analyses. Let the special attacking nerds savor it while it lasts. The Nerf bat is coming for you guys eventually. Almost done with the overview, we just need to introduce the key trainers of the region. In Gen 1 and Gen 2 starters, I used the base versions, but this time we'll actually use the new and improved Emerald version, which overhauls many of the gym leaders' teams when compared to Ruby and Sapphire. On your path to the Hall of Fame, you'll need to defeat Rock-type Roxanne, Fighting-type Raleigh, Electric-type Watson, Fire-type Flannery, Normal-type Norman, Flying-type Winona, Psychic-type Tate and Liza, and Water-type Hoenn. After you conquer Victory Road, you'll then need to face the Elite Four Gauntlet of Dark-type Sydney, Ghost-type Phoebe, Ice-type Glacia, Dragon-type Drake, and this guy. There's like 4 fancy water guys. They all look the same to me. All I know is that this clown is #NotMyChampion, and if there's one thing the Hoenn region didn't need, it was even more water! Once you're a Hall of Fame alumni, you'll then be worthy to go spelunking in search of the true final boss, Steven. I think it's a bit unreasonable to expect your starter to be able to solo an endgame super boss, so I won't be weighting this one too heavily. It's mostly for fun, and because his Emerald team is just a jacked version of his Ruby and Sapphire team, so we're really not missing out on anything by using Emerald. You may notice I didn't mention the main villains of the game, Teams Magma and Aqua, and that's because they're a total joke. I'll tell you right now that every starter clears them no problem. I'm not scared of Poochyena and pals. You might say that's rich coming from someone who minutes ago lost to Poochyena. Did I lose to Poochyena though? Maybe I'm the one who dealt with them permanently. Guys, I'm gravely wounded. I need your help. 1 like equals 1 prayer point. And if you can set up a sub, it'll only cost you 25% of your health. It means a whole health bar and more to me. How about we finally meet our potential pals? Your choices are Treecko, the grass type, Torchic, the fire type, and Mudkip, the water type. Unlike the Gen 2 starters, The Gen 3 starters are generally agreed to be pretty powerful picks. Is that sterling reputation deserved? Well, it is for two of them. Anyway, first up in Dex order is Treecko. Treecko evolves into Grovyle at level 16, and then into Sceptile at level 36, remaining a pure grass type the entire time. In terms of stats, Sceptile has respectable special attack at 105, and is extremely fast at 120 base speed. If Pokemon had double attacking, Sceptile would be able to. And even double attacks might not be enough, because as it stands, Sceptile is really fast, so it goes first. And then what? This level up move pool is a travesty. For context, Chikorita, who we rated 1 out of 10 without a single defender in the comments after over 100,000 views. Chikorita learned Razor Leaf at level 8. Treecko has nothing for half the game. You might think Bullet Seed is good, and it is. In Gen 6, where it has 25 base power per shot, or in Mystery Dungeon, where it's deadlier than actual bullets. In Gen 3, it's 10 base power per shot. That's 30 base power on average, and 5 less than Chick's Razor Leaf, even in the best case scenario, which you'll only high roll 12% of the time.
Okay, but what about Leaf Blade?
What about Leaf Blade? It's okay, but it's not good enough. Now get out of my video and get back to work. In terms of TMs, it's fine by endgame with useful options like Earthquake, Brick Break, and even Dragon Claw. But before you can equip the Leaf Blade, the situation is dire. I suggest you speedrun to Route 119 and start harvesting and huffing that tropium, cause you're gonna need to overdose to try and justify these moves. Ugh! Treecko at least leaves a positive first impression, a good move by the way, since Roxanne gets completely blown out. Absorb's laughable 20 base power isn't so funny when it's dealing quadruple damage to her Geodudes. And although Nosepass only takes double damage, its offense is so pathetic you can easily win the hit trades, especially since you can get blood from a stone and heal off of Absorb. And the party is already over because you're terrible in the next fight. Emerald Brawly is kind of like an MMO boss with an enrage timer where you have to deal enough damage to knock him out before he bulks up too much. And Treecko can't do that. Machop you could maybe beat if he doesn't Karate Chop crit you. Meditite is a free win because you can keep attacking it to prevent it from ever focus punching you. But the real issue is Makuhita. It likely has a light screen up from when you were bullying Meditite, and the fact that you have to chip down its HP with your pathetic attacks means you're very likely to get obliterated by a low HP reversal. Your best bet would be to gamble on insane 5-hit Bullet Seed RNG with crits mixed in. But wouldn't you rather spend that luck on a Vegas jackpot than the second Pokemon gym? Savor the sound because you're never gonna hear anyone say this again. I suggest you use Sableye. Sableye is found in the nearby cave and completely counters Brawly. He literally cannot touch you. And after you win, you can just box Sableye for the rest of the game. And the franchise, honestly. Don't worry guys, Megas are back. Sableye is gonna be viable again. Third is Watson, whose French name is Voltaire. You resist electric, which is not enough to tip the scales in your favor when you're almost guaranteed to get paralyzed at some point and have to deal with lost turns and constant chip damage from going second. You also have 0 chance of gunning down Magneton, so this is the first unwinnable battle for Treecko. My advice? Give up. Fourth gym is Flannery. You're probably flabbergasted that I gave Treecko an offensive advantage, and that's because you can pick up the Dig TM near Fall Arbor Town before the battle. That being said, this battle is actually hopeless. All of her Pokemon can Terminator 2 Judgment Day you with Overheat at any moment. And in another brand new sentence, you cannot possibly beat Torkoal. It has too much defense, and you have too little attack. Give up. Norman is the only Pokedad in the entire franchise, which actually ties the high score of the Fire Emblem franchise, where there's only one main character dad who is shown and does not die horribly in the same game. Can you guess who it is? It's Roy's dad, Ellawood, who's alive. He's just kinda wrinkly. The main challenge of the fight is Slacking, who has cover legendary tier stats, but is held back by the Truant ability that only allows it to act every other turn. I really like the Norman fight because there are 3 ways to pass the test. If you're really strong, you can just kill Slacking before it hits you. That's what Blaziken does. If you're really beefy, you can tank 1 hit from Slacking, then kill it in 2 hits. That's what Swampert does. And if you're clever, you can exploit Truant with turn manipulation. Since Sceptile lacks the stats to either 1-hit kill or survive a hit, they gave it Detect in its level up moveset specifically for this encounter, which also teaches new players that sometimes strategy does pay off. What's that? Detect is learned at level 51? Way after the gym? Oh. Well, in that case, RIP strategy. You thought that being smart was a good thing? Well, listen up, kids. Actually, maybe close your eyes, because this anecdote is rated M. Did you know that here in Japan, they call smaller than average condoms smart size? Yeah. At least I'm smart. Back to this E-rated children's game, I guess you have to hope you either crit Leaf Blade or that he wastes his turn with counter. You could also cheese the Truant turns with Dig, if you don't have anything else to do that day. Winona beats you both offensively and defensively. Sceptile actually can use Rock Tomb, but even if you manage to hit the mark despite the shaky 80% accuracy, you cannot possibly break through Skarmory, so give up. Silver lining for those flying type clouds. At least you probably won't be seeing this text. The penultimate gym is Tate and Liza, the very first double battle boss. TNT have been given what I'd consider to be the biggest buff by Emerald. In the base games, their badge is basically a participation trophy. I don't think anyone has ever lost to these bozos in a vanilla playthrough. Their Emerald team, however, seems to have been constructed to cause each of the 3 starters at least some trouble. For Sceptile, the Leaf Blade deals heavy damage to 3/4 of TNT's team, so all you care about is a partner that can take out Xatu, and here is where we have to broach a topic we've been able to skirt around until now. The Hoenn Pokédex sucks! People clown on Johto for its awful Pokemon, but Hoenn is almost as bad. Slow, bulky mixed attackers galore, with the only good Pokemon being the starters, and the Pokemon that have been tearing it up since OG Gen 1. Anyway, Sharpedo seems like a decent partner here. It's not in any danger once Claydol is out of the way, and can literally chomp through the rest of the team, including the Xatu that Sceptile can't easily handle. The final gym leader is Hoenn. There's no need to get fancy here. Grass beats water. You can luck out to land a 16% crit kill on Kingdra, otherwise you'll have to tank an Ice Beam, which you barely can if you're at full health, which you should be, since hey, you sweep the rest of his team. We're finally in the big leagues now. It's bad boy Sydney. His Japanese name is apparently Kagetsu, but don't worry, he's a chump compared to the good guy Kagetsu. Sydney's team is a great introduction to the Hoenn Elite Four, because it's definitely a Hoenn team. His Emerald team is arguably weaker than his base game team. At least in Ruby and Sapphire, you sometimes took 12% damage from Sharpedo's Rough Skin. The only threat, being very generous with that term, is his lead Might Yenna's Intimidate. If you lead with a different Pokemon, then bring in Sceptile to dodge the attack drop, you can then just Brick Break his entire team. The worst thing that can happen is Might Yenna hitting you with Pocket Sand on the switch. It's not that bad. Phoebe is less of a battle and more of a resource toll booth. Her Pokemon don't actually threaten you, they just exhaust your PP with pressure. Blaziken and Swampert can easily pay the toll because they have huge stats and great moves. But just like how it's expensive to be poor, Sceptile is trapped in a vicious cycle where its low damage means it makes high payments under pressure. Sceptile simply doesn't have the tools to...
Okay. But what about Leaf Blade?
What about Leaf Blade? I told you, I'll put it in language you kids can understand. It's med. Guards, deal with him harshly.
Let's go.
Anyway, you're gonna need to pack a Hoenn staff for your Leaf Blade durability. And if that didn't make any sense to you, hi, welcome to the channel, and I'm saying you need Leppa berries. People love life from the loamy soil. You may notice that one of the Dusclops is rocking Ice Beam, but you don't have to worry. There's a reason why everyone clowned on that Ice Punch Dusknoir guy, and that was a Dusknoir nailing a quadruple weakness. Don't fall for the super effective Swindle. Dusclops is pathetic. You'll be fine. The third battle is Glacia. When I was a kid, I thought she was elderly, but that was just the grainy Gen 3 Versus screen. She's not old, just cold. Leaf Blade can cut through her water types, but Glalie hilariously Hoenn stat spread of 80s across the board is bulky enough to take a brick break, and one ice move is curtains for you, so give up. Drake sailed the 7 seas, only to get swept by Sceptile. Yeah, if you take a detour to Meteor Falls with the Waterfall HM, you can get your hands on Dragonclaw, which rips right through Drake's crew. It would be awfully convenient to skip the Meteor Falls field trip by learning Dragonclaw naturally. I mean, Sceptile is a dragon type, right? Right? Just make base Sceptile a dragon, you cowards! It's finally time for the showdown with the Hoenn champion, Wallace. You'd expect, if nothing else, that the grass starter would mop up the water champion. But you would be wrong. You might consider breaking out Sunny Day and Solar Beam, but that requires a turn of setup where Wailord will blast you with Blizzard. So I wouldn't risk it. There are several ways this battle could end in disaster. Milotic will for sure survive a Leaf Blade and put you on ice. Tentacruel you could beat with Earthquake, but only if you don't get intimidated by Gyarados, who Sceptile can't beat no matter what. There's really nothing you can do here.
Okay, but what about Leaf?
リーフブレード、葉の剣の伝説は私が語るわ。だってあれは、この私が鍛えたのだから。我ら小田巻団は、知りすぎるほど知っている。自由の木は、暴君の血で清めなければならぬことを。なぜに我らは戦い、瀕死しなければならないの？一体いつになったら終わるの？
The Ashina region, a land embroiled in endless, bitter conflict. To the east, the Aqua Clan, a ceaseless wave of seasoned warriors who will not stop until the sea has swallowed all. To the north, the Magma Clan, fierce fighters who wish to set the world itself to the flame. And to the south, the Birch Clan, meek and meager, cowards who flee to fight another day. Your clan is your faction, your family, your jailers. Fight until you faint. Forever. War is the way of this world, and none can escape the cycle.
マグマ団のクソ野郎、とっとと消えちまえ。種マシンガン。私まだ成長期よ。しまった。
気合い切り。
Are you alright, little sister?
何よ、兄貴ったら大丈夫よ。助けなんていらなかったのに。自分で面倒見れますから。
A single tree makes for a lonely forest. If you wish to lead our clan someday, you must learn foresight and hindsight.
でもちょっと見破るなんてひどい技じゃん。もう兄貴、ダジャレもいい加減にして。分かったから、もっと気をつけるって。
You're lucky we only faced small fry here today. I won't be able to bail you out of every pinch, you know. What if the Aqua Clan leader showed his face? No one in Ashina would stand a chance.
ああ、その時は兄さんにお願いね。タイプとしてはアドバンテージよね。
Yeah, I do.
じゃあ勝っちゃうよね。
Nah. I'd lose.
ああ、そうそう。ずーっと聞こうと思ってたんだけど、どうしてあのしょうもない古い剣まだ使ってるわけ？居合切りなんてタイプ1ボーナスで冴えないじゃん。
This blade has felled many of our people throughout the years. By wielding it now, I honor their sacrifices. There are some wounds you can never forget.
あのさ、徳実村の忘れ親父なら。
That's not what I meant.
あれが私が聞いた兄貴の最後の笑い声だった。決して忘れやしない。
Aqua Clan forces are rallying to meet us as we speak. We may have the type advantage, but we must not grow complacent. This is their swamp, after all.
雨と地震？
No, not an earthquake. Him.
弓人？いつの間に？
Nice day for a swift swim. It's just so easy. Mom always told me to beat my veggies. You in charge of these weeds?
Indeed. I am Chikorita, chief of the Birch Clan.
Oh, I've heard about you. Heard you're a total wimp. You definitely look the part.
True strength is not found on the battlefield.
Ha! Famous last words. Pick a god and pray, pal. You're gonna be meeting them real soon.
Get off our lawn.
Feel the strength of the earth.
Forgive me, little sister.
Is that all there is? No challenge? No resistances? This day belongs to the Aqua Clan. Form up! Surround them all! kill every last one of them!
兄貴、お兄ちゃん。ああ、ダメ、生きて、光合成使って。
It's too late for me, little sister. My wounds are grave, and synthesis is terrible in rain. Heed my dying words. This blade and this crown are now yours to wield. You must use them well if you wish to save Erica and the Kanto region.
エリカ？関東地方？兄貴、何のこと？
I don't know. The roots of our clan span past, present, and future. Someday, someone will understand. Someday, we will all be free. Ah.
お兄ちゃん！我らはなぜ戦い、瀕死しなければならないのか。この繰り返し、終わることはあるのだろうか。もし他の団を敵として見ないで、憎む代わりに交友すれば、この日をもって、私は団結を呼びかける。猛火、激流、新緑。この剣で私は悪循環を砕き、みんなを自由へと解き放つ。
Trust the type chart. Believe and bide. In 2 to 3 turns, we will be victorious!
Pathetic. The Magma Clan at least tried to fight back.
スワンパート！
Eh, who are you? Forgive me. You weeds all look the same to me.
草タイプはサポート専門で決着つけるには使わないって兄は教えてくれたけど、なんか今の状況ってなんだか。それにこれなんか私の剣でもないし。
Finally, birch with some bark to it. Bring it on!
面白い策を使うの。さて、この俺様ラグラージ、このアクアダンの指揮官ともあろうものに手向かっているのは承知の上か。
あんたのそのおぞましさ忘れたとでも思ってんの？
小娘よ、なかなかやるじゃん。いい度胸じゃないか。ひょっとして我は似た者同士。貴様と俺。
黙れ！あんたとなんか一緒にすんな。
そうじゃ。力では雲泥のせいじゃ。うわ地獄で兄貴に会ったらよろしく伝えておくれさ。くらえ！
ごめんね、みんな。 がっかりさせちゃった。
You can do it, little sis. I believe in you.
お兄ちゃん、でも私能力悪いし、
So what?
タイプももう一つだし、
Big whoop.
それにできる技なんてひどいもん。
Couldn't care less.
私なんて最低。
True strength is not found on the battlefield. I believe in you. We all believe in you. They say you can't choose your family, but know this. I would always, always choose you.
なんだか変。急にあいつがノロノロしだした。
Hey, when did you...
新緑の季節が来たわ。春よ来い。剣の舞。リーフブレード。 消えちまえキャベツ呼吸。人の世に生まれし頃より戦道へ。オーカーラング。
You've grown stronger. I commend you. Unfortunately, your victory rings hollow. This was but a fraction of my true power. Prepare.
お前はもう死んでいる。
Nani? What? What did you do to me?
この剣先にはね、毒々と宿り木の種からの強い毒性の混合物が塗り込まれているの。一突きされたものは即死。お前のターンは死ぬまでにあと3回。無駄にしないことね。
You Birch Clan bastards could never win a fair fight. This isn't over. You can kill me. But as long as the type chart still stands, people will always like Mudkips.
アシナの民よ、暴君ラグラージは朽ちた。今日が新たな輝く夜明け。悪循環はもう終わり。我らはもはやマグマ団、アクア団、オダマキ団ではない。それらの団への忠誠はして一つの旗のもとに団結するのだ。ホーエンの民として。草か火かそれとも水、選ぶのは自由よ。誰がこんな草なんか選ぶかよ。
And now you too know the big root of the issue. The truth I tried to keep from you. 70 base power Leaf Blade. If Sceptile had a real stab move like Blaziken and Swampert, it could just activate Overgrow and mow through Wallace, but nope, Leaf Blade literally does not cut it. And you know the saddest part? Leaf Blade is the best grass move in the game. This I don't have a rock-type heart. We'll go ahead and bump it up to a neutral offensive matchup. But Sceptile fans, be honest. The only way to win this fight is some sick crits. As for Super Boss Steven, you can't even beat his lead Skarmory. It's a shame because you can fight the rest of his team with Brick Break and Earthquake, with an especially easy win against his very special Aggron. Yeah. Give up. How did Treecko fare overall? In terms of matchups, it's actually better than I expected, with only 5 that I would consider hopeless. Treecko boasts incredible speed, but it's hampered by being a pure type, that type being the atrocious grass type, and having an appalling early game move pool, even if things do get better after forging the Leaf Blade. It's also frail, which is mainly an issue because its offense is so mediocre. For the youngster rating, I'm going to give Treecko a 2 out of 10. Treecko is borderline useless all the way up until Norman. The early game is when you rely on your starter the most, and not only is Treecko sucking pitiful amounts of HP from enemies with Absorb, it's also sucking tons of valuable XP from teammates who could use it better. Something we don't mention much in these starter analysis videos is fighting trash trainers like youngsters, fittingly enough, but that is what you spend most of your game time doing. You would think that in Hoenn, you know, the 7.8 too much water region, that Treecko would at least sweep randos, but no. There's plenty of land battles where Treecko sucks, since it's a grass type with no moves, and the most common water trash are Wingull and Tentacool, who you actually lose to. For the Ace Trainer rating, I'll be a bit more generous with a 3 out of 10. You can mitigate the low power of Leaf Blade with Overgrow or maybe even X specials, but there's only so much you can do, especially without access to boosting moves like Bulk Up or Swords Dance. No matter how much you nurture them, some seeds are destined to grow into weeds. If it's any consolation, Treecko's way better in the Aurus remakes with buffed Bullet Seed. Yeah. Go ahead and take another huff. Next up is the Fire Starter Torchic. Torchic evolves into Combusken and gains the secondary fighting type at level 16, then evolves again into Blaziken at level 36. Torchic's stats are incredible. I'd go so far as to say they're the best stats of any starter in the series, for in-game at least. 120 attack and 110 special attack are the highest we've seen so far in either category, which makes Blaziken proficient in both of its excellent attacking types. Remember that back in Gen 3, all fire moves were special, and all fighting moves were physical. 80 base speed is just about the sweet spot for outspeeding most things if you have a modest level advantage, which I'm assuming you do. These stats are perfect. I wouldn't change any of them. No, not even the special defense, you might need it. For moves, Torchic is no slouch either. Level up moves are solid. You get Ember and Double Kick as acceptable early game stab, with upgrades to Blaze Kick and Sky Uppercut later. Maybe a bit too late. The TM move pool is pretty good by Gen 3 standards. You do get Earthquake, you could Brick Break instead of Sky Uppercut, you have both Flamethrower and Fire Blast as paid upgrades to Blaze Kick, and notably you have a Stab Overheat Delete button as early as Flannery. Yeah, you suffer a sharp special attack drop, but you have a colossal 120 attack. You don't have to switch out. You can just kick them. My main complaint is, I don't know, close combat doesn't exist yet? That's about it. After heaping oodles of praise on Torchic, we start by running into a brick wall named Roxanne. This horrible first matchup looks familiar. Luckily for us, unlike Charmander, we do have a clear way out. We can just reach the level 16 Combusken Evo, which completely flips the fight in our favor, if you're willing to trade a bit. Combusken is a much better sparring partner for Brawly than Grovyle ever was. If you look at the mid-stage stats, Grovyle leans special, Marshstomp leans physical, and Combusken has the best of both worlds. Combusken's Double Kick, which is not a particularly strong move at 2 hits of 30 BP each, is literally twice the average power of Bullet Seed. I'm not trying to sell you on my new streaming site, Double Kick. I'm just reinforcing that the Treecko line move pool is rancid. In our third brand new sentence, you might say, it's the perfect time to use Peck. But don't get swindled. Super effective Peck is only 70 BP, and Double Kick with Stab is 90 BP. Go with your Pecks, not Peck. Watson is a surprisingly poor matchup for Combusken. Your strongest move is still Double Kick, which interacts very unfavorably with Static on his Electrike and Manectric, meaning you're basically guaranteed to paralyze yourself. Even though both your types have an offensive advantage against Magneton, Ember is too weak to score a one-hit KO, and Magneton actually has pretty good defense, so he can take a kick or two, which is a problem because you only have 2 kicks. You're going to need at least one turn to bulk up with the TM you want from Brawly, and all the while his Pokemon are going to be getting chip damage or worse against you. I'm not saying it's impossible to win, but I would be shocked. By the time you reach Flannery, you've mastered Subterranean Subterfuge with the Dig TM. That's your ticket to victory. Just don't dig against Nummel, or else you'll learn the magnitude of your mistake. How do you beat Nummel without a super effective move? Don't overthink it. Nummel's stats suck. Kick her. It's our dad again, Norman. Is he a real dad? Does it even matter? Double Kick is a bit underwhelming for this point in the game, but Blaziken has 120 base attack. Our path is clear. I choose to kick. Winona's Pokemon are all airborne and can nail your weaknesses. But unlike Sceptile, who cannot break through Skarmory, your fire typing smelts Skarm no problem. You do have access to a rock move, Rock Tomb, that you want from Roxanne, but don't get swindled. A super effective Rock Tomb is 100 BP, but a stab boosted Blaze Kick is 127 BP. Is a neutral attack strong enough to sweep her team? Don't overthink it. Blaziken has 110 special attack. Kick her! Maybe Rock Tomb the Altaria. Tate and Liza with the power of the Master Emerald are a huge headache for Blaziken. For Blaziken's partner, you could use Absol. Absol has 130 attack, which it can't use for Dark Stab because Dark is special. But Ghost is physical, and you find Shadow Ball and Mount Pyre. I'm gonna be real with you, Sharpedo is definitely better than Absol. I just suggested Absol because people love Absol. The big advantage Sharpedo has is that it goads the AI into trying to nerf your water attacks with Sunny Day, which is futile because these fangs don't care about the forecast. You can blow up either of the lead Claydol or Xatu with Overheat from Flannery or Fire Blast from the Lily Cove department store. But the one you don't attack will wreck you with either Earthquake or Psychic. You should probably take out Claydol to prevent a double kill against you and Sharpedo. If you make it to the Cosmic Rocks, you'll want to Brick Break against Lunatone since it has worse defense and better special attack than Solrock. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Blaziken's prospects of surviving the battle are bleak. But true fighting types know that it's only in the face of fear that one can be brave. And Blaziken ain't no chicken. Wait. A fire starter versus the final water gym. Should I just play the give up graphic and save us both the trouble? Well, I would, if not for Hoenn being charitable enough to lead with one of the worst Pokemon in the entire franchise. You're free to get a bulk up under your belt, at which point you can Brick Break his entire team. You don't think a 75 BP neutral move can do it? Don't overthink it. Blaziken has 120 base attack. Break him! Sydney and his sinister squad stand no chance. Although I doubt you needed me to tell you that. Might Yenna's Intimidate cuts your attack right out of the gate. Doesn't matter, it's a Brick Break bloodbath. You getting all this, camera guy? The hardest part of the Phoebe battle is that Sydney gets bopped so badly, there's no way for him to set you to blaze range for this fight. Without the Blaze boost, you'll need either Overheat or Fire Blast to muscle through the Dusclops in one hit, which raises some PP concerns. Don't be embarrassed to consult your local Nurse Joy. Her Pokemon are so weak, you can't actually lose the battle, it just gets kinda tedious if her Pokemon survive and confuse Ryu. Blaziken is Glacia's worst nightmare. We are ending the Ice Age, a franchise that hasn't been relevant since about when this game came out, actually. Breaker. Okay, it turns out that punching dragons is not a winning strategy, although it does seem to work against fully armored stormtroopers. Your only chance of victory is to start getting mad bulk up gains against Shelgon. You're gonna need at least 3, considering Salamence's Intimidate makes you go catabolic. Shelgon might waste its turn with Protect, or it might Dragon Claw you, which you can take coming from Shelgon's paltry 60 special attack. Guys, I told you special defense would be useful, you thought I was kidding. The question is whether or not you can get your boosts before Shelgon scares you out. I guess you could say we're playing chicken. If all else fails, you could always wait for Salamence to fly, then Sky Uppercut him and roleplay as a Dragoon. You're gonna lose, but hey, look cool. Blaziken versus Champion Wallace the Water Guy. Yeah. You're cooked. Give up. In stark contrast, Blaziken brutally bullies Steven. This might be the hardest that any Pokemon Super Boss gets stomped by a starter. None of his Pokemon can do anything to you as long as you preheat the kiln for Claydol by starting in Blaze range. He might have become a cave hermit to escape the Blaziken beatdowns from back when he was the Ruby and Sapphire champ. Can't say I blame him. How brightly does the Torchic burn overall? Several matchups are hard fought, but Wallace is the only one that's truly hopeless. There's lots to love, from the incredible stats to the awesome dual typing, back in the days before people were burnt out on the firefighting combo. If I had to highlight some negatives, they'd be the kinda underwhelming fighting moves and reliance on Rock Tomb for important coverage. For the youngster rating, I'm going with the IGN Classic. I'm giving it a 7.8 out of 10. Torchic isn't exactly an early game superstar, which is when new players most rely on their starter. The 7.8 rating is truly IGN inspired. This game does have a ton of water, which makes it spooky to use a fire type. Wake up, Mareeple! The type chart is blinding you! Blaziken's stats are so huge, you can afford to break the rules. Oh no, Wingull and Tentacool resist both my stabs and have super effective attacks against me. Don't overthink it. Kick them! They're gonna die! For the Ace Trainer rating, I'm giving the Torchic line a stellar 9 out of 10. It's not just a great starter, it's one of the best Pokemon in the game and a worthwhile investment for your resources. If you're willing to cultivate mass with bulk up on the fights that require it, Blaziken will almost always come out on top. If only it wasn't in a region infamous for its excessive moistness. It might actually have gotten the elusive 10 out of 10. I heard you like Mudkips. Come on, as if there was any other line that could have kicked off our final analysis. Just like Chikorita is the mascot of obviously awful starters, Mudkip is the mascot of blatantly overpowered starters. Despite its signature move being Muddy Water, it could not be more clear that this thing is busted. To set the stage for you, I did a run of Emerald using only the A button, which meant being locked into mashing one attack through every battle. No items, no switching. Mudkip was actually the 4th only A run I've done. The first was with Bulbasaur in Gen 1, then with Chimchar in Gen 4, and the third was with Fuecoco in Gen 9. All of those runs involved doing very strange and creative workarounds to our restriction, and all 3 required support from other Pokemon at some point. Beating Emerald with Mudkip by mashing the A button was so easy and brain dead that I had to edit together bonus videos about a Dive Fieri subplot saga and put the viewers to work building a meme Excel sheet so they wouldn't get bored and leave. Mudkip evolves into Marshtomp at level 16, gaining a secondary ground typing, and evolves again into Swampert at level 36. I'm not sure if Water Ground is the best dual typing in the franchise, but it's up there, top 5 for sure. Swampert stats aren't quite as good as Blaziken's, notably the 60 speed is a bit sluggish, but this thing is a tank. It dishes out serious damage with Stab Earthquake off of a meaty 110 attack, and the backup 85 special attack is good enough for most of your needs. Of course, Swampert's claim to fame is its minor upside of being completely invincible. Look at these Pokemon Mystery Dungeon portraits for Worried. Does this guy look worried? Look at him, he knows he's unstoppable. I don't even know why I bothered making these matchup graphics. I'm telling you right now, I don't use them a single time. Well, I guess I'm using them now. Mudkip's move pool is a bit lean, but it has what you'd expect and, more importantly, what you need. Notable level up moves include Mud Slap for some accuracy cheese, Water Gun and Mud Shot for your early stab needs, and although you do get Natural Earthquake, it's a bit late at level 52. Do note that Swampert does not learn Hydro Pump, only Mudkip does, and it would have to remain a Mudkip until level 42 for that, so Hydro Pump is not an option. For TMs, the important ones are Brick Break for fighting coverage, Return for the Water Normal combo granting perfect neutral coverage in Gen 3, and we can't forget Ice Beam to destroy flyers, dragons, oh, and grass types, our only weakness! Seems like a fair and balanced Pokemon. Let's see how it performs out in the field. Hopefully not a grassy field. Mudkip already beats Roxanne. But if you really wanted to make the Mudkip line look good, say if you were making a propaganda video, you could evolve up into Marshtomp to make both the arrows green. The Brawly matchup is almost the exact same as the one Combusken had. You have the Brawn to beat Brawly in a head-to-head scrap, so do that. The only difference is that compared to Double Kick, Mudshot has 5 less power and 5 less accuracy for some reason. Game Freak, why does this need a 5% miss chance? What does this add?
Is Air Slash actually stronger? Because it is Stab. But we have a lot of boosts. Also, Air Slash is a 5% miss chance. I don't trust that. Well, why would I not trust that? We've had a pretty good track record so far. Slashed.
Oof! Not strong enough yet.
Watson is an electric type trainer and you're a ground type. This fight is completely free. If you can think of a way to lose without intentionally throwing or getting crit by the Voltorb self-destruct, let me know in the comments, I guess. Flannery is another easy win where both of your types offer you an advantage. By this point, you kinda wish you had a stronger water move to prey on Torkoal's weaker special defense. They actually added a perfect mid-tier water move this gen in the form of the 60 BP Water Pulse. But it's a reward from Hoenn, the final gym, when you already have Surf. What were they thinking? For the third and final time, it's our dad, Norman. Is he our real dad? Does it even matter? It's around this point in the game where you'll have a revelation. You can choose whatever path you want because Swampert's stats and typing are so good that you win almost every hit trade in the game. You can face tank Slacking and wash him away with Muddy Water, or you can be a smart boy and cheese Truant with Dig. Either way, I bet Norman is proud the normal specialization isn't genetic. What an awful type. Before confronting Winona in the treetops, take a detour to the sunken ship to pick up every water starter's best friend, the Ice Beam TM. Once you unlock Frostspect, there's nothing Winona can do. And no, Tropius cannot stop you. Hey, at least her tropium addiction supports the local Fortress City economy instead of Big Devoncore. You might think that Tate and Liza would be an easy sweep with Gen 3 Surf only hitting enemies, but Gen 3 double battles have some quirks. In every gen after Gen 3, all spread moves inflict 70% damage. But only in Gen 3, field-wide spread moves like Earthquake inflict full damage on everyone, while asymmetrical spread moves that only target enemies inflict half damage. Switch-ins also happen immediately upon knockout instead of at the end of the turn, meaning a Pokemon can be sent out just to catch the second incoming attack and die. It's really cheap, I can see why they changed this. Swampert wants a partner who can stop Sunny Day. This can either be by knocking out Xatu early or by overriding Sunny Day with another weather condition like rain. Hey, didn't we just clear the Weather Institute? Oh, you know what that means. Come on out, cast form. It's your time to shine, even though we need you to rain dance. I'm just kidding. Could you imagine? Don't use cast form. It's so underleveled. You might think this would be a job for Ludicolo. You know, the rain dance fiesta Pokemon. But at this point, he's a real bad Lombre. I'm saying there's no water stones yet. The Rain Dance TM requires Dive, which you need to beat Tate and Liza to use, so the play is gonna be to knock out Xatu. Manectric could easily outspeed and Thunderbolt Xatu before then dying to a Claydol Earthquake. You'd rather not have your partner bite the dust, but hey, it's not like Swampert needs help against the rest of the enemies. If you don't mind overlapping types, you could also just use Sharpedo. Again. The final gym is Hoenn. By this point, you can expect to have Earthquake, which is huge for the account. Dare I say it, this changes everything. During the Emerald Only A run, the viewer interns were furiously theory crafting what to do against Hoenn, when to me the strategy was obvious. Earthquake him 5 times. In defense of the interns, I was actually wrong. We had to Earthquake him 6 times because Kingdra took 2 hits. We're back in the big leagues. Even with the Intimidate attack drop and without Stab from Blaziken's fighting type, you could just Brick Break his entire team. Maybe send his grass types to the Frozen Isle with Ice Beam. Hoenn Bulk strikes again. Phoebe is here to collect your PP tax. If you go in with enough Earthquake uses, you're in no danger. Why she has Will-O-Wisp on Banette, who's made of wet tissue, instead of Dusclops, who might actually get a chance to use it, is a mystery. If you didn't forget your Ghost Speak Ammy in the bank, ask them and let me know. Glacia's Pokemon are all weak to Brick Break. I'm not gonna say to not get swindled here because super effective Brick Break is actually the exact same power as a neutral Stab Earthquake, and you might be low on Quakes after Phoebe. The important part is that Swampert wins no matter what. As if you weren't aware of that by now. Drake's entire team is weak to ice, you have Ice Beam. I already stole 15 minutes of your life just to explain Leaf Blade. Consider this brief matchup as a 2% cashback perk on your time spent. Wow. Special thanks to Champion Wallace for actually getting me to use the negative defense matchup for Swampert. Now, let me be clear. You actually beat Ludicolo because you knock it out in 2 returns, and it doesn't suck you dry with 1 Giga Drain. It's just that you take too much damage to then also fight the rest of his team. If Swampert learned Bulk Up, you'd be able to get jacked against Wailord and sweep as long as Ludicolo doesn't get in with Swift Swim active. Sadly, Swampert only started lifting in Gen 8. How did he get those arms in Gen 6? And it couldn't have been spinach, he's allergic to that stuff. No anchor arms needed against Super Boss Steven, especially since unlike Wallace's Ludicolo, Steven's Cradilly is vulnerable to super effective damage from Brick Break or Blizzard. Devoncore shareholders are sweating bullet seeds seeing his last 2 matchups. Are we sure Steven is fit to take over the company? Would you watch 10 hours of Mudkip? I would. And so would millions of others apparently. The Mudkip line has one of the best typings ever, along with the move pool to succeed at every stage of the game. I can dig for an excuse to try and drag this Kip's name through the mud. Sometimes it doesn't win fast enough? For the youngster rating, I'm giving the Mudkip line our very first 10 out of 10 rating. Wow! This thing is completely idiot-proof, and I mean that in a good way. Since Mudkip is so ridiculously strong, you can do whatever you want with the rest of your team, which includes not even having a team because Mudkip can do it all by itself. Usually games reward you for advanced strategy, But Mudkip is like an ultra beast from a bizarro world where you need special tactics in order to lose. There is a grand total of 1 Pokemon in the entire game that threatens Mudkip. Not 1 trainer, 1 Pokemon! And that's Wallace's Ludicolo, who you have an 8% chance to crit with return and beat anyway. You might think I'm forgetting someone, but nope. Even though you paid a full $40 for Ruby and Sapphire, but green and with 10% more content, you still never face the rival starter's final evolution. This whole region is Mudkip's swamp, and we're just living in it. For the Ace Trainer rating, I have to be a bit harsher and dock 1 point for the sluggish speed, meaning Mudkip ties Torchic with a 9 out of 10. Now let me be clear, going second sometimes doesn't mean Mudkip is in danger. This thing is invincible. The issue is all of the other things that can happen if your opponent gets a turn. They could debuff your stats, buff their own stats, status you, deal some chip damage you might need to heal off later. Annoying stuff. Not deadly, just annoying. Veteran players might choose to go with a faster option that doesn't have to spend 4 turns getting confused and doing hard time in the Golbat Gulag. And that concludes our analysis of the Gen 3 starters. I hope you found this video helpful, although there are some unanswered questions. Whatever happened to the Leaf Blade? Perhaps the truth awaits you at the end of the credits. Bait to force you to watch the credits? I learned it by watching you! Thanks as always to the mighty Patreons who keep the channel afloat, especially important in a region like Hoenn with so much water. Patreons were able to watch this video slightly early, and you could evolve into a Patreon yourself with the link in the description. Special thanks to the YTC Institute interns who created many of the Cheems edits you saw used throughout this video. You'll find the full small decks, including every small edit and their creator, in the Discord, link in the description. And of course, thanks to you for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. Now what was that about the Leaf Blade?
これは剣か？
おーいエリカ、みんな待ってるぞ。